Hi, this is Sophie. I am so sorry for the poor quality and for how I sound. I've been really sick, the baby's been really sick, but I could not wait another day to release this episode of the Sex with Sophie podcast titled Drag Queen, which features my dear, dear friend, Arron McGill, aka Carmen Banks. Um, Unfortunately, and I'm so, so sorry to report that Arron passed away on July 8th, 2024, very suddenly. He was HIV positive, but that's not why he's not here anymore. He was undetectable. He was on an amazing program. But if you ask his husband why he died, his response is racism in the American healthcare system, and I believe it. A few weeks before he passed, he had gotten down to like 108 pounds. I'd seen his steady decline in size. He even mentions it in the interview that he was losing weight. He was having a lot of digestion and digestive issues. He'd actually been hospitalized just a few months prior to this interview. And despite all of these things, his attempts to get his mental health sorted out, there was so much dismissiveness and obfuscation when he was trying to seek help. It was either, oh, you're fine, you're undetectable, you're fine. Or it was, oh, we're going to move this appointment back, or you can't get this appointment, but we'll give you one later. And his medications weren't distributed properly. It was just a whole thing. And so all of that, him living in the beautiful state of Florida, is what led to him not being here with us today. And it's so unfortunate because I wish with all my heart that I could watch this with him so we could laugh at all of his silly euphemisms and he could say, oh, I really didn't mean this that way. But, he's just had a way with words and a way with presenting himself that is going to be so missed. He was my friend. He was my confidant. He was my girl. He was my kid's Uncle Aaron. And he was a light. Plain and simple. And it's just so sad how gloomy this world will be now without it. But I hope you enjoy this next little bit with him and that you walk away feeling that I did him justice with his story, with his representation of what it is to be a gay man, a drag queen, a beautiful human being. So, without further ado, please enjoy the Sex with Sophie podcast, Drag Queen. Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to another episode of Sex with Sophie. Today we have a phenomenal guest lined up who you are going to fall so in love with, just like I have. His name is Arron, and he's going to be here talking to us about what it's like to be a drag queen. And here he is. And this gentleman, for the listening audience, is a stunning mocha-skinned Black man
Caramel,
with a pink
caramel,
swoosh. Yeah, oh yeah,
caramel,
caramel, okay?
like a latte.
Caramel. Yes. He's donning a beautiful ruffled shirt with a pink, amazing blazer that could also almost resemble a smoking jacket of sorts. It's beautiful.
Girl, and I got it for like $14.
Of course he did. Of course he did. He's amazing. So before we begin, how is it that you even know me, sir?
Okay, it's blurry. I was doing a lot of drugs then. I'm pretty sure you were a guest. I'm sure we interacted at events, but then you came to my 30th birthday party with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly. And
Mm-hmm.
then we were like, oh my God, we're gonna stay in touch, that whole thing. Then you had life, and I had life, and then randomly we've reconnected.
Absolutely. Like we were Facebook friends like this whole time,
Yeah, like
but
I would watch her
yeah,
posts and stuff, but
insane.
I never thought just to like reach out and be like, what's up, girl?
No, I know, but then like we did, and ever since then it's been like just this whole extra added element of flavor in my life, thanks to
I
you. So
love
I'm
it. I love it.
so glad,
I love it
so
because
glad.
you like you make me think about things. And it's like, wait a minute,
Oh my
wait a
God.
minute.
I know we get into some deep stuff, but it's funny too because like this conversation I anticipate that we're going to have, it's certainly going to reach a level, but like it's not even going to touch the levels of profundity of what Arron is. And so just forgive me, viewing audience and listening audience. We'll have to have him back for a second part at some point because there's so much more to him than just being a drag queen. And so, although that's what we're going to try to focus on today, please know that you will get to learn more about this man a little bit today, but also as we move on in our endeavors with this podcast series. So, before we begin, I guess if you want to introduce yourself properly, tell us what your pronouns are, where you are, and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Arron McGill. I am a him, his, whatever. I'm so not into labels, but we have to have them now for some reason. So I'm a him. I always tell people don't let the glitter fool you because I'll still whoop your ass. I specialize in events and catering. I currently work at a makeup counter.
Go
I'm
ahead.
just not really about labels. Like, I get it. Like, we all want to be accepted. We all want to find community. And I'm not one of those people who's like, man, woman, that's it. I know there's things in between. It's been part of our culture for thousands of years. But I think when it comes to myself, I'm just a guy who likes pink and likes frilly shirts and likes makeup.
Oh.
But on a random Monday, you might find me in a tracksuit and some sneakers, And when it comes to sexuality, I don't dress like this to go on a dick date. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
going on a dick date, you're getting some booty shorts and a tank top. I'm gonna give you your full fantasy. Okay, it's not this. This is professional me. This is actually, it's somewhere in between me and professional me. It's somewhere in that mix, that genre. And I don't feel like I need to put a name on it.
Oh, and you
Someone
certainly
told
don't
me
have
that I
to.
should identify as non-binary. And I was like, I'm sorry. No, I'm a man who happens to do drag and who happens to like eyeshadow and glitter.
Mhm.
Get into it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't need a special name,
Absolutely.
it's just what it is.
Psst. Thanks for watching, but make sure you subscribe. All right, back to the video.
So, give us an overview of what a drag queen is and what a drag queen isn't.
This is a very skewed question in the drag community. Okay. Drag to me is the ultimate form of field impersonation. It's me changing my entire character, my entire being to emulate that of a female. Specifically for me, a 1950s housewife. I love
Mhm.
crinoline, I love poof. And to some people, that kind of illusion is what drag is.
Mhm.
But drag encompasses so many other things. You have drag kings, you have entertainers who are cross dressers who aren't necessarily drag queens, It's just drag means so many things. It's truly about art. It's
Mhm.
truly about the artistry of being able to transform yourself into another being.
Mhm. Mhm.
And not only being able to do that, do it convincingly.
You
Some of
said
these
drag
little,
queen.
hmm,
Is that generally the drag queens who keep their beards or who try to keep a more masculine?
no, I think there's definitely a place for that. I've done
Oh,
bearded drag. I
mhm.
definitely think there's a place for that. Some of the most fierce queens I've seen recently are bearded.
And is that
And
a drag king? Or am I, what is
no, that would still be a drag queen because
Oh,
she's presenting as female just with a beard.
oh.
Um,
So
so
drag
I would
king
still
is a female who dresses as a man.
yes, a drag king, and a
Gotcha.
lot of drag queens are lesbian,
Oh.
which I always find fascinating. There's even a couple of that I know of that are completely straight, but just love the illusion work, love the makeup, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a large part of it too, is loving the makeup, loving that I have to wear 6 pairs of pantyhose and I'm constricted all night long. Like, part of it's just the sheer satisfaction of pleasing a crowd, and I think that's what drag is. It's pleasing your audience. It's giving your illusion, you know?
I
It's
love
giving a part of yourself, your emotions. It's an outlet to let go of emotions, to just dance the night away. You know, it's just a great vehicle. And you become a public figure by
that.
association. People start to know who you are, and no matter who you are and what you say, that's cool.
Hi. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you. All right. Bye. Back to the video.
And you were getting into what a drag queen is not. Can you tell us more?
I have a serious issue with these little baby drag queens.
What do you mean?
Listen, we were all young ones, okay? We've all done bad drag, okay? We've all done bad drag.
We have all done that.
I've lost pageants over talents that were terrible, okay? I get it. But just because you can twerk in Vogue and pop and lock doesn't make you a drag queen.
Mm.
When you're not wearing titties or nails or hip pads, to me, that's not drag. That's
So
a
a
boy in
death
a dress.
drop a drag queen does not make.
Right. I would
Gotcha.
never, for any reason, not wear titties.
Uh-huh.
I would never, for any reason, not pad my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look at professional drag queens, that's a common thread in our conversations
Mm-hmm.
is the idea that just because you have skinny legs and look fish, that you can just do naked drag. Now, there are exceptions to this. My good friend Cassandra Hilton,
Mm-hmm.
girl, she could put on 2 pasties and a thong, and she's the most beautiful transsexual woman I know. My friend Lily Frost,
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous, stunning, looks like a woman. But
Mm.
when you're out here wearing your Maybelline and you ain't got no nails on and you ain't wearing no titties and it took you 20 minutes to get ready, honey, you're not a drag queen. You're a boy in a dress.
Wow. I mean, that's a great distinction to make. And speaking of boys in dresses, I
Mm.
know there's transvestites out there, there's cross-dressers,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
transsexuality. Like, to me, like, I'm not in this world, so is it appropriate for me to not classify those people as drag queens? I don't see that
A transvestite is not a drag queen. A lot of the distinction between cross-dressing transvestites and drag queens are entertainers. A lot of cross-dressers do that privately. In the 50s and 60s, there were whole societies of cross-dressers that would meet in secret, you know, and wear ladies' garments and behave like ladies, and they would go back home to their wives
Mm-hmm.
and basically pretend nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a cross-dresser. A transvestite is more sexual. It's
Mm-hmm.
more, to me anyway, I don't know if this is true or not, but to me, it's more about sexuality. It's about bringing out that part of you um, that exists in both worlds, male and female. Then you come to a drag queen, and no matter how fish you are,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you're an entertainer at the end of the day.
And
Your
explain
job,
fish for the lay audience.
fish, is you look sickening. You look like a woman. You look fish, honey.
And
You're
you're passing.
fish. You're tilapia, honey. You could go out onto the street. Honey, you look like a piece of salmon on a plate. You look fish, girl. It's
I
just like,
see it as like female passing. Like you could be white passing.
yeah,
like
Yeah,
female.
it's very that. It's very that. So it's a definite compliment for someone to say you look fish, just like the term down boots. A lot of people don't understand that term, but it
Mhm.
means you are dressed down to the boots. You are doing it, honey. Or even I'm fucked up to the boots. You know, I'm there. It's all the way down to my toes. You know, I can feel it all the way down.
Did you know you can join sexwithsophie.com for free? That way you can ask me questions. We have all kind of community features. Come on, it's great. Sexwithsophie.com. Now, back to the video. But our producer just made an interesting distinction that when you call a woman or associate a woman with fish, that's usually not a good thing at all.
No, isn't that ironic
It is so
that
ironic.
we took something that is dirty, derogatory,
Uh-huh.
and for women, and then turned it into something fabulous for female impersonators.
I love that though.
That's also a part of drag. It's
Right?
taking that stereotype of a woman, that what
Yes.
people say about a woman, and transforming that into an ideal woman.
Absolutely. I agree with that so much because especially now that there's this new alpha male movement that just
Yeah.
is basically misogyny repackaged. It's that whole thing
Who
of,
all like to have their dick sucked, yes.
I mean, and please, I wish they would just so they can get off of this bullshit. But they have this thing of, oh, I want my woman to be submissive and to not wear a lot of makeup, and that's deceptive to men when women wear makeup and present themselves, I guess, in a different
Do you know how
way.
much makeup I'm wearing right now? Do you understand it took me 45 minutes to beat this face? Okay? Do you understand? Fuck that shit. Makeup is an enhancement. It's not a
Mhm,
deceiver.
mhm.
If you are doing your makeup correct, this is not 1980. We are not smacking blush on our faces with blue eyeshadow and calling it a
Or
day.
pinching our cheeks to try.
It's not the Victorian era, honey.
Right.
We're not using ants to create lipsticks, okay? Like, that's not what we're doing. If you know how to correctly contour your face, it just makes you look better. And
Like the
I'm
you
sorry,
that you are. Yeah.
and the whole thing about not wanting your woman to look good, what the fuck is that about? I want my woman smoking
No,
hot all the
'cause I
time.
don't want
I
other
want my
men
husband
looking at
with
my
my
woman.
husband, honey. My husband looks good all the time. You should feel the jealousy. You should feel all of it, honey. When you look at me, you should feel all of those emotions that I am better than you, even though I'm not.
I love
I
it.
just present well.
And you
But
do.
I just don't get that. Why you wouldn't want your spouse to be attractive?
I'm telling you, it's this insidious new, you're only a man if you XYZ, and it tends to be very, again, very misogynistic, very
Mhm,
conservative, very like
mhm.
down-putting to what a normal, in my opinion, woman is. And so I
I
love that.
completely agree.
Yeah, but I love that drag, like you just said, takes those things that are quintessentially, stereotypically, if you will,
Mhm.
woman, and enhances that and accentuates that and celebrates that. Like, how beautiful. Are you enjoying what you're hearing so far? Oh, that makes me so happy. So give us a like if so, and back to the video.
That's one of the things about Carmen. It's like I told you, when I'm tipping around, when I'm going out to social events, it's 1950. Okay, there are gloves involved, there are tiny pocketbooks, there are clutches. It is every single part. There's fur. It's every single part of 1950. And
Mhm,
then I get on stage
mhm.
and I'm wearing a corset and booty shorts and I'm twerking the house down.
It
Okay.
brings the old to the new. I love it.
hmm And what I feel it shows is a sexuality about a woman from a certain time where
Mm.
that wasn't celebrated.
And honestly too, like, the fact that you're doing that as a Black man, I actually think that's doubly amazing.
There's a differentiality because I don't fit the black queen stereotype, but
Interest
there is a differentiality. And I don't think it's so much of a racial thing. I
mm,
think it's how you're raised, kind of a core thing. Like y'all listen to Lil Kim Well, I was listening to Britney Spears. Okay, and not that I wasn't listening to Little Kim, but it wasn't until later that I realized she was a sexual icon and
Mm-hmm.
doing things that women don't normally do, that I started to really appreciate artists like her, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and even some lesser known female rap artists that I started thinking about performing those kinds of numbers
Mm-hmm.
because I just love the idea of a woman talking about sucking dick, talking about eating my pussy. I just
All
love
about
it.
little
I just,
little red and
yeah, throw me around the bed, spread my legs. I love it. I think that's so empowering. And everybody wants to call them whores and sluts. But when I do numbers like that, there's a song I do called Fuck You Better. It's one of my best numbers
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because for some reason that number just makes me feel free. And girl, the last time I did it, I had braids on my waist that were purple and black. I had them all twisted up. I had a beard, glitter, and girl, I wore a little racing costume and I twerked and popped and dropped it. It just felt so good, so liberating, you know?
Aw, I
You
love
know,
that.
it's just an interesting paradigm.
Nice. Well, okay, listen. If you could take a layperson, if you will, again, one of those people who really doesn't know what drag is, like,
Mm.
what would you tell them? Like, what is something that you wish everybody knew about drag that you don't think is very common knowledge?
It's a character.
Mhm, mhm.
A lot of this anti-drag propaganda that's going on is demeaning to the art of drag.
Mm.
Listen, if your 6-year-old child is at the nightclub, then we have bigger fish to fry, girl. Okay? If you are somehow offended by a character in a costume and you're not offended by a Disney princess, we have problems. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. I'm portraying a character. This is not about sex. This is not about children. It's not.
Or
And yes,
indoctrination.
children come indoctrinate. Yeah. Children come to pride festivals, of course. And as performers, we are aware of that. And we
Mhm,
don't go out there doing lick my pussy for the children.
mhm.
We do numbers that are appropriate, mostly pride numbers for that matter, numbers about love.
Aw.
No professional entertainer is going to do a drag story hour in a corset.
Right, right,
You know
right.
what I mean? It's just, I wish people understood that it's art.
Or not in just a corset, like you would have, you'd be appropriate. I gotta
Right.
ask you though, because I have seen pictures of pride festivals where you have the people with the dog masks and the BDSM and around children. Like, what are your thoughts on that kind of thing when
I
people take it to a sexual place in
I
pride?
think it's a hard thing to deal with.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
think if you are going to expose your children to something like a pride festival, and at most pride festivals, the adult area is blocked off. It
mhm.
is usually tinted in black and it says 18 to enter. Like that's typically what happens. But we gay men, we gonna wear harness. you know? And I think you have to be able to have an open conversation with your child when they ask, why is that man wearing a dog mask? And of course, you can't go because he likes to get fucked like a dog. But I think, you can't say that. I think there's a way to approach it like, oh, he's playing dress up, or,
Mm,
oh, it's just for fun. You don't have to make it sexual.
mhm,
Listen, men in booty shorts are the same as a woman in bikinis.
mhm. Yeah,
We're
I
not
agree.
showing we're not showing any more than you're showing with your little titties out in a thong bikini in Brazil, okay? We ain't showing no more than that unless we're blatantly wearing a jockstrap.
Mhm.
Then we might have crossed the line.
Well, I appreciate that, even in your perspective, it sounds like there is a line, and I think that's what I was so taken aback with when I saw those pictures was like, do they not know that there is a line in the
There's
sex?
a line. There's a definite line. And like
Yeah.
I said, drag is entertainment.
Mhm.
Fetishes are not entertainment.
Mhm. That's true. That's true.
And I think expressing yourself and being free and all that jazz is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to acknowledge that there might be a 6-year-old around you. You know,
Mm.
wear your harness under a dress shirt, like, you know, and then when it's appropriate, when you go to the club, rip
Mm-hmm.
that shit off, you know? It's just, there's a level of appropriateness. I always dress up when I go to Pride. Like, I dress like this, and my friends, loose term, would always make fun of me. And they'd be like, oh, why are you in a blazer? It's August. And I'm like, and you dress down in your tank top and your denim shorts. And I'm actually out here making connections with people because I look good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you look approachable. I think that's
I'm,
another thing.
I'm a
I love
very approachable person
you
most of
are.
the time.
You
Most of the
are.
time.
I mean, that's how we met. Like I felt so comfortable with you immediately. Like you were again at your 30th birthday party as Carmen, and like I feel like I met your whole family in the first
Yeah,
day.
they were all there. They were all there. But you know, that's what's interesting. The difference between Charlotte and Sebring.
Mm,
In Sebring, we are viewed as wealthy,
mhm,
as unapproachable.
mhm.
Like, I have more people compliment me on a daily basis than I've ever had in my entire life, even as Carmen, you
In
know,
Florida?
in Florida. And
Mm.
it's almost to the point where I finally realized you're not complimenting me. I'm a circus clown to you.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. It's Sophie. Just wanted to ask you to like and subscribe. All right, let's get back to it. So, tell us about a typical drag show experience. Like, take a few minutes and really describe the preparation involved, including.
Okay, the preparation is like 2 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
you can squeeze it down to an hour, but if you really want to look perfectly flawless, like you need 2 hours because there's not just your makeup, there's
Mhm.
your body, and you can feel free to use those shots that I sent you. Okay, this is layer one. It's firmly, well, I'm not wearing good tucking panties, it's just a trial run, but it's in place. And you can see the first stage of padding. These are my old pads. I'm getting new ones, but these are still working just fine. So you can see how it starts to create the silhouette. Now we have to smooth it out with about 4 pair. Okay, this is 3 pair. You can see how we're starting to blend the line. Okay, everything's starting to smooth together. Okay. Okay, everything's good. Normally, at this point, I would do like 2 more pair, then a pair of fishnets, and then like 4 pairs of pantyhose. But we ain't doing a show. We trying on body. So we're not gonna do all that. So next is corseting. This is basic bodywear, right? You can get this at like Walmart, whatever. So you can see it's starting to pull in the waist. You have to worry about lines like this when you're thinking about costuming, especially if you're gonna do like a high-waisted bikini. This piece may have to be removed, or you want to do something with a higher cut. But like I said, you can see it's just gently starting to pull the waist in. It's putting on your body, it's putting on your pads, it's putting on your titties, it's tying your corset to give you shape. It's literally like you have to take breaks when you're doing it because it's so intense.
Mm.
That's not every queen's experience, it's just mine. But I'm pretty sure a lot of queens would agree with me. The preparation is like the hardest part. And then
Mhm.
you have to consider your audience for the night. You have to consider what songs you're doing. And some queens plan that weeks in advance, some queens plan it the day of. You know, it just depends. So there's that whole preparation, putting your music on a USB that works for the DJ. If
Mm.
you have a special mix, getting it off SoundCloud, putting it off the USB, you know, like it's a whole process there.
Mhm.
Then you're talking about, heaven forbid, you're wearing the lace front, because now we got to lay takedown. I mean,
Mm.
you can get away with the lace front without doing all the work of a lace front because you're going to change your hair 3 or 4 times.
Well, and that's for people that don't know, that's a type of wig
That is the
that
type of
kind of melts into your hairline.
yeah. And then there's the outfit. And I'm sorry, I can't zip myself into a dress. So there's coaxing my husband to zip me into a dress that's already too small.
Oh my God.
Okay. Oh no, there used to be a joke about Carmen that like took 3 people to dress her because she wore everything so
Like
tight.
a Victorian French
Yeah.
person.
I would get in trouble for having too many dressers.
Oh, like you can only have so many people backstage, Aaron. Come on.
And it's like, well, listen, I was like, they're helping other people too. But yeah, there's all of that. There's making sure your outfit's right. There's making, it's a whole, it literally can be a whole day.
Mm, mm, mm.
Heaven forbid you've got to buy something, a piece of a costume that you don't know if it's going to be there or not.
Mm.
And then professional costumes, talking about rhinestoning, beading, sending them off to someone to have them rhinestone, getting them from Texas, sending them to North Carolina, making sure they fit just to have
Bedazzled.
them rhinestoned, and then ordering your jewelry from Minneapolis and your hair from California. Like,
Oh my
there's
God.
so many moving pieces to drag. And
Yeah.
heaven forbid you're doing a pageant.
Well, what's the difference between like a show and a pageant?
Okay, a show is typically 3 to 4 queens and a host. Sometimes the host is included in that. It's typically 2 numbers each, 3 if you're the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, if you're the headliner, you have crowns, so your third number is usually a ballad,
Mm-hmm.
or your first number is a ballad, and then you dance the house down. So that's pretty much the make of a drag show. There may be games and fun entertainment that the host does and stuff like that. I mean, think of it like as a bachelorette party on steroids.
Nice.
Like people are bringing the queen shots on stage, and there's money. Back in the back in my youth, money used to rain from the ceiling at Scorpio's
Oh
because
wow.
the whole upper bar was open, and when my mama Tracy Morgan was working, honey, that money
Your
would
drag mama or
fall.
your real mama? We gotta
My
specify these things.
one of my many drag mamas, but my main one, the
Uh-huh.
money would fall from the ceiling. Your girls were working out with $500, $600, $700 in tips.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was
Nice.
lucrative. It was lucrative.
Nice.
So that's a show. A pageant is like a 3-day event. Depends on the system. You normally do a prelim,
Mm-hmm.
and if you place at prelim, winner and first alternate, go to state. And if you place at state, then you go to nationals.
Wow.
So it really is like months long of a process because you
Wow.
want to compete early. You want to get your prelim in and done so you know about your placement so you can start doing things like your gown and your costumes and all that kind of stuff. And then once you hit nationals, it's literally a 3-day event. There are vendors. You can buy pantyhose in the lobby. You can buy new jewelry. Everyone's hooking up.
Oh wow.
Everyone.
Ah!
Everyone.
Oh my God. So like a typical pageant.
Girl, the last pageant I went to, I had so much penis. So much penis. I think I gave a boy some underwear, okay?
Oh my
I'm
God.
pretty sure I gave this boy some underwear. I can't confirm or deny that.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was like, pageants are just more intense. They're a more intense version of a show because you
Oh,
have gown talent, Q&A, solo talent, prelim gown. So you're talking 5, 6 categories.
oh wow. Which are 5, 6 outfits or looks. Yeah.
And girls have spent $10,000, $15,000 to compete in one pageant.
Well, why? Like, what are the prizes at large, or did they kind of make up for the investment?
If you place nationals, like for Miss Gay America or Miss US of A or even Miss EOI, these are all different pageantry systems. You basically go on a national tour.
Oh, interesting. Kind of like a
And
drag race.
I hate that word. I hate that show. We won't talk about that.
Okay,
We won't talk
you know,
about that.
I might press.
This is gonna be
Press.
this is gonna be public, and I don't want RuPaul coming after me. Um,
Hopefully it'd be more that RuPaul coming after me, which I'll take any day. I love
but
him.
that's the whole thing is, it's thousands and thousands of dollars, but the end result, you walk in every pageant. Every
Mhm.
appearance you make from that point on is basically double the pay you were getting before.
Oh.
Plus the prizes, plus the jewelry, plus now you have sponsors, people who
Oh.
help you pay for your drag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People even do that at the prelim level. They get sponsors to
Oh,
help.
wow.
Gowns are $5,000. Piece of
Wow.
hair is a good piece of gown hair is $300.
Wow.
You're talking about money
Mm-hmm.
for a hobby.
I never really thought about it like that. That
I
it
mean,
is.
girls make careers out of it for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely know people, but they always end up making costumes or doing hair or making jewelry to supplement their show income.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just been very interesting watching that process.
Having fun? Hey, the fun continues at sexwithsophie.com. Come on over and become a member for free. Thanks. Back to the video. So, as a seasoned drag queen, what are some tips for maybe like a new drag queen who's interested in this or who's maybe not seeing that level of revenue or career possibility from this that you have?
Okay, number one, blend. Blend your makeup. I went through a whole phase where I was not blended properly, and my friend still calls me out on it. Okay, blend your makeup. Number two, just because it's cheap don't mean it's bad.
Mhm.
But do know you can't live in that cat suit for the next 15 performances, girl. Okay?
Mhm.
Always look fresh. Don't get too drunk until after the show. And
Again.
and be respectful of your elders.
Mm.
I had a problem with that when I was a baby drag. My elders would tell me something, I'd be like, "Fuck you." You
Because you knew
know,
everything. Because you
because
knew
I
it all.
knew because you know
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
Listen to your elders. Watch what's trendy in fashion and incorporate that into your drag.
Mm.
Don't get stagnant thinking every costume has to be beaded fringe and rhinestones. Some of
Mm.
my best costumes were like overalls and a bathing suit.
Nice. Nice.
As long as it's appropriate to the song. I used to call myself a video girl because I gave you pop princess.
Mhm. Mhm.
And pop princess is everything. It could be a bodysuit, it could be some overalls, it could be some booty shorts, it could be a dress, whatever. And the most important thing is learn your character.
Mm. Mhm.
Learn who you are in your female form.
Mhm.
Carmen has favorite foods. Okay? Just because my skin color is pink and so is hers doesn't mean there's not a differentiation.
Uh-huh.
And, I know what, like I said, Carmen's favorite foods are. I know what Carmen likes to drink, and it's different from what I drink on a regular basis.
Oh, wow. So
Carmen,
it is a character. You're almost
it is
like
a,
what is that when
mm,
they call like what Daniel Day-Lewis and
mm.
Christian Bale and
Oh, and
is that
I
what isn't
should
that what it is? Character acting? Your character
character
act-
acting.
wow. So that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and understand why you're doing it.
Mm.
Are you
Mhm.
doing this to be popular? Are you doing this to gain notoriety? Are you doing this because you actually enjoy it? Is this a phase for you? It's just something you're doing to win the talent show because you can't pay for your bag tonight? I mean, like, why are you doing this?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's something I personally struggle with because I kind of like fell into drag. It
Mhm.
wasn't really like a conscious choice. Like my friend put me in drag, I was beautiful, and the next thing you know, I won a talent show and I was booked. I
Mhm.
had to figure out why I was doing it. And at the time, the bar I worked for required everyone to have a crown. So
Oh,
you start doing,
really?
oh yeah. So you
Okay.
start doing pageants for no reason. I was never a pageant girl.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't my thing. I think now that I'm older, maybe. maybe. But, then it wasn't my thing at all. But that's some of the advice I'd give to the youth. Just really like know yourself and know what you're doing
I
and
love.
don't fall into the traps.
Oh wow, what are the traps?
Drugs, over drinking, after parties. You become popular all of a sudden. Everybody wants you around, and it's as fun as it was for me, and it was a lot of fun. It was a world of fun. I almost wish I hadn't done it.
Oh wow, wow.
It changes the dynamic of your life. No matter how much you recover, no matter what recovery process you go through,
Mm-hmm.
it's always ingrained in you.
Mm-hmm.
Those habits are always ingrained in you. And
Wow.
it's hard when you're doing drag because everybody wants to give you a bump. Everybody wants to buy you a shot. Everybody wants you to smoke weed with them. Everybody wants you to come to their house. Everybody wants you to do this. Everybody wants you at their after party. And you have to set a barrier there that
Mm.
I never set before when I was performing. You really have to think this is my job. It
Mm.
is my job to perform tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is my work. And most queens have day jobs. So I, as good as I was at it, I now can't be out till 4 o'clock in the morning. I,
Mm-hmm.
one, have no interest in being at your after party so we can all make sexual eyes at each other all night and no one actually hooks up. So I'm not about that. I'd much rather be at home drinking bourbon in my bed before I pass out to get up and go to work.
I love that. Oh, thanks
It's just,
for sharing. Yeah.
yeah, you just like, it's all about boundaries. Life is all about boundaries. And it's taken me 41 years to figure that out.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm coming up on in a week. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
I'll,
God, your birthday is next week.
yeah, that's crazy. Getting old. But I really like I almost had the opposite life as you in a weird way. Like I didn't do drugs or anything until I was 38 years old. That's the first time I smoked weed or did any. And so you're saying, oh, I wish I hadn't experienced that. And I'm almost like, damn, like it's gonna sound fucked up, but like I
You
wish I did. Like I really wish I had
like I
started.
said, I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not even my dirtiest behavior. I don't regret any of it.
Well, you have to
Any of
explain
it.
that so people don't get the bad idea or a wrong idea.
In the gay community, there's a thing called twinks. They're full of sexual energy and they're a good time at an after party. But I always felt like a dirty old man when I was sleeping with them. Just
Because
saying.
I've seen
Just saying.
twinks and they're very smooth. They're very
They
smooth.
are. Um,
Well, you're
but
a bear
typically,
guy. You've always been a bear guy.
yeah, I'm
That's
a bear
interesting.
guy. I
That's
like my
very
bears. I like my otters. And so you all know those are hairy men. Not going to the exact definitions, but hairy men.
that's,
Men who are men.
I never heard otters before. I've heard bears.
Otter, I'm an otter. Otters are slim,
Oh, but hairy.
but hairy.
Gotcha.
So I would be considered an otter.
Okay.
Again, I hate labels, but here we are.
Here we are. Well, speaking of labels, how do you feel like society generally views drag queens and what challenges or stigmas have you faced because of that?
I think there's a duality.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, of course, we know who, without saying who, that thinks drag is evil and completely sexual, like I was talking about earlier, who ignores the artistry, who doesn't understand that it takes 2 hours for me to do this. Like, who doesn't understand that this costs money, more money than you spent on your car. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this costs a house payment. Okay, for one show. They don't understand that. But then, okay, maybe a triple here. Then there's, of course, the gays and the straights that love drag. And then there's the most dreaded of all drag queens, the bachelorette party.
No. Do tell.
Okay, you're in a gay bar, number one. You're the only girls in the gay bar who are not lesbian.
Uh-huh.
You were trying to get lit. And when it used to be at the male entertainment bar here, when it would happen, we would be like, fuck. Because they think they can grab on you and
Oh
shove
God.
money in your titties. And I bless the go-go boys, bless them, because they're trying to rub their faces and their dick areas, and not everyone was like that, of course, but you, girl, when I'm talking about white girl wasted, I'm talking about, no, you cannot have any more tequila, Karen.
Oh.
No.
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Melissa. Come
Mm-mm.
on.
And up,
Chastity.
not chastity. And in uptown Charlotte, it used to drive me crazy. And it wasn't just bachelorette parties, it was like girls in their micro dresses and their 6-inch heels who couldn't make it the whole night in 6-inch heels. And they'd be walking around the dirty epicenter in bare feet,
Oh
walking
God.
through. Oh, you never see this? Girl,
No.
it's like a thing. It's like I
Ugh.
worked at the epicenter. No, it's like a thing. First of all, they take their shoes off. They start working around the dirty dance floor. Then all of a sudden, two of them are fighting,
Oh
and
my
then
God.
someone falls on the pavement, and they leave her there while the rest of them get in a cab.
No.
Yes, several
Poor
times I've seen
Kinley.
this.
Oh my
Poor
God.
Kinley, chastity girl. I
Oh my.
told you not to get wasted. I told you.
Well, listen, you said a term, go-go boys. Like I know what go-go dancing is. I've seen go-go dancers. Is that just like the men who are dancing at a drag show or at a gay bar?
No, go-go dancers are like strippers that keep their clothes on.
Huh. Okay.
I don't have a better way to explain that. Normally, they're like on speakers and little, skivvy pants, harnesses, or whatever the theme for the night is. And they're basically just like sexy dancing.
Okay.
There's a fine line between go-go boy and stripper.
But that occurs at a drag show, or you're just saying more so like a
Oh,
gay bar?
yeah. Not
Oh,
at gay bars, but not always during a drag show, but some drag shows do feature go-go boys as like, side pieces.
okay. Okay.
Keep the crowd interested.
That gives me a little bit more of a visual of what you were speaking on earlier. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Sophie, an author, wife, and mom on the hunt for real information about sex. If you're anything like me, then all you had to go on was your mom's mortifying birds and bees speech, your abstinence-laden middle school sex education curriculum, whatever it is they're showing on TV these days, and porn. Well, I'm anti-porn. Oh, no, not that I don't like porn, I love porn. What I'm saying is that I'm visually and aesthetically the polar opposite of what most people find desirable. Plus, I'm fat? Oh, don't feel sorry for me. I mean, who better to join on a journey of sexual learning and discovery than somebody that you can walk beside without distraction? That's why I'm building Sex with Sophie, to be a living set of courses that teach the primary acts and facets of sex based on the statistical analysis that I gather from my members' anonymized profiles and their answers to fun and interactive questionnaires. Sex with Sophie is open now. Sign up today and create your profile to become a Kickstarter for this endeavor with your funding, but also by helping us accrue data. You'll be regularly notified about fun questionnaires, new site features, and launch updates. You'll also get full access to exclusive content and extras from the Sex with Sophie podcast. This is where we interview people from different walks of sexual life, like seniors, sex workers, BDSM, and lesbianism. Thank you for your interest in Sex with Sophie. Support us today at sexwithsophie.com on a plan that's comfortable for you.
I gotta ask you a question. We talked to a sex worker who has done the gambit, but she's really focused on like burlesque now.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was telling us a little bit about that world. And even in the strip club world, that they have what's called kiddies. So like as a drag queen, do you have people like stage hands who kind of help you with your performance, or what does that look like?
No. I mean, if you bring your own people, yes. But it is not provided by most clubs. If you do, and this is going back to pageantry, if you do compete out of state out of your home, there's a U-Haul involved, and
Mm.
typically an SUV full of people. And then once you get there, your backup dancers that you hired in that city that you've rehearsed with 8 or 9 times, going on the airplane 8 or 9 times, then you hook up with them. So now you're also paying for their hotel rooms, your dresser's hotel room. Heaven forbid you bring a hairstylist.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we have stagehands, but we hire them ourselves.
I didn't know that. And honestly, then I think what that, and we're not talking about labels, but what that takes away the label of drag for me is that it's not sex work. Because you're not
No.
stripping, you don't have a whole, so it's not, it's like you said, it's a character, it's a performance, it's entertainment,
hmm
it's an illusion, but it's
It's
not
it's
sex
very
work.
much in line with burlesque.
Uh-huh,
It's
uh-huh.
very
Without
much in line with
stripping
burlesque
element,
without the stripping element.
which then I
Um,
think again makes
which
it
sometimes there are stripping elements.
mhm,
We love to do a costume reveal.
but I don't think
All
that's
of a
stripping.
sudden,
That's like, "Oh, I have on." Okay,
I've
okay.
seen someone go from a full coat down to pasties. Okay, so I don't know.
So it's
Bel-
it's a Venn diagram of sex work to a degree. Okay.
And a lot of girls use sex work to pay for things.
Mm, mm,
A lot
mhm,
of transsexuals that I know have done sex work to pay for their hormones, to pay for their
mhm.
titties, and stuff like that, because those things are very expensive, and sex work is so fetishized with
Mm.
transsexuals that it'd be easy for them to take 2, 3 clients a day, you know?
Wow. Tell me more about that then, because you and I are friends, and I know this about you, but you actually have a really strong delineation between Carmen and your sex life. Can you tell
Yeah.
me more? Yeah.
What's really funny is I was thinking about this morning, and what it is, like I said, Carmen's a character.
Mhm.
And in my young, as I keep calling them, baby drag days, yes, I sucked off plenty of go-go dancer and drag or stripper, plenty, but never full out sex, and that's because I'm not a woman.
Mhm.
I don't find the idea of having sex as Carmen even enticing in any way.
Mhm.
Not only are we dealing with a whole lot of padding, but two, that's not who I am sexually. I'm
Mhm.
not a woman sexually. But you get all this glitter and shit, but watch out when I put on a tracksuit and a ball cap and show up at your door wearing my felines. Okay? You're getting a whole nother illusion. Okay?
You're gonna plow 'em
So,
like what?
like the Ho Chi Minh Rice Trail. Yes. But, Aaron sexually is very diverse.
Mhm.
Um, I'm greedy. I kind of like it all. I want a little sample of this taste and a little sample over here, and maybe tonight it's a bathhouse. Maybe it's a little piece of rough trade. You never know. You never know
I love
what's
it.
gonna strike my fancy that day. Even with my adult video selection, sometimes after masturbating, I'll close the screen and then I'll go back to it and be like, "What the fuck was I watching?"
Is it the
Like,
post-nut clarity that seeps
yeah,
in, or
I'm like, did I really watch this dude jack off for 5.5 minutes? Is that really what just happened?
A.
Whatever works.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever
Our
works.
producer even chimed in. He's like, "You're not alone, bro." So
Um,
you're
I started watching transsexual porn. I have never in my life. And
heterosexual?
female, no, no, I've watched plenty of heterosexual porn. I've fucked straight guys. It's kind of a requirement. Um, no, but I started watching transsexual porn, female
Oh,
to male
transsexual.
transsexual porn, and like
Oh,
still with their vaginas. And I have an aversion to vaginas. But I watched this one and I was like,
why do you have
hmm.
an aversion to vaginas? I love to
I've had a lot of bad
hear that.
experiences with vaginas.
This man told me how his first experience with a vagina was
She
a
just
girl
threw it up. She just
and
threw it on me. It
hide,
wasn't.
hide and go hit it, basically.
This is not okay. She stuck her hand in my overalls. I was very uncomfortable.
And forcibly put his hand where he did not
Mm,
want it to go.
mm, mm.
Poor baby.
I
Poor baby.
remember afterwards. This is so gross. I remember afterwards smelling my fingers and being like, "Never again." Like that was the moment that I truly became a gay man. I was
Oh
like,
my God.
this is not for me. This is
Oh
not
my
no.
Fish.
Fish, honey, fish in the bad way. In the bad way.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Mm-mm.
Well, okay, let's go there. Like I'd love to know what your journey of like your sexuality, of your preferences, like how did you
Um,
become the gay man that you are? And then tell us how you got into drag from there. Like that's so interesting.
okay, so like I knew I was gay when I was like 3. There's actually a story that circulates my family that my aunt, my grandmother, and my mother were watching me play, and one of them went, "Well, what if he's different?" So my entire childhood, I've spent pretty much with women.
Mm.
And I think that's what influences a lot of my feminine side. There was the normal play around with boys when I was, 5 or 6. And then, Boy Scouts in 6th grade and Truth or Dare and all that jazz. And I think somewhere in all of that sexual confusion, I was still dating girls pretty seriously. They used to call me Flavor of the Week because I always had a new girlfriend.
Oh my God.
But
You're over here Baskin Robbins.
yeah,
31
straight
flavors.
up 31 flavors. 31 flavors.
Oh my God.
And one of the moments I knew I was gay, it was like the first day of school, second day of school, and I just started at Northwest School of the Arts.
Oh, cool.
So I'm all nervous and whatever, and I'm in my locker, and this girl comes up, closes my locker, and goes, "I'm Cherie, spelled like the cherry you eat."
Oh God.
It was like 9th grade. Okay. What the fuck do you mean the cherry you eat? No.
You're 14,
You're
Cherie.
14 years old, girl. You calm down.
Oh my
So,
God.
and then I dated this crazy ass. This is where my crazy person addiction started. I dated this crazy ass bitch named, I won't say her name, but she was, because it's very unique. And if she ever sees this, she'll know what I'm talking about.
We might need to
But
bleep
she
out
was,
Cherie, spelled like the
girl,
cherry you eat. But no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
girl, but she was like crazy obsessed with me.
Mm.
Crazy. It was weird. So anyway, how this leads to me becoming a gay man. So the internet was invented.
There you go.
All
And
of a sudden, I have access to
seen
chat rooms.
it. Oh
All
my
of a sudden, I have 30-year-old men wanting to plow my 16-year-old hole. Okay. This is like the most exciting time of my life. Literally, if I was out of school, my mom would leave for work, I'd jump on the chat line and have grown, full ass men overpaying me for sex. Do
oh
not play games. Do not play games. The internet changed my life.
oh my God.
So, I had a boyfriend who I met on the internet, and we moved to New York. We taught theater in Rochester. This is after my gay awakening,
Mm.
which was very drug fueled. So we won't get into that. So we moved to Manhattan, and I wasn't done being a whore, and he was. So that didn't go well.
Mm.
And I did drag the first time in New York, and it was Halloween. I did it 2 Halloweens in a row. And the first year, I was a vampiress,
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, we were a vampire and vampiress. So I did full drag for that. Only remembering what I'd learned from drag queens at home. Like I'd never done my own makeup. But I looked pretty good. And then the next year I went is, you're gonna love this,
Okay.
Paris Hilton.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
back in the Paris and Nicole days. Okay.
Oh my God.
Bouffant, ponytail, tiny skirt, hot pink heels. All I was missing was a little dog.
Oh, I love her. I adore her. Like
And
her
funny thing
whole
about, oh, I
story.
know, she's so smart. No one gives her enough credit.
She's been through some shit, y'all. Like, look her
Hello,
up.
for real. Not only is she an era, she has some personal things happen.
The reason you haven't heard from her in a few years is because they put her in a freaking like insane asylum. Weird.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
And she's fine. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and she looks good in the new Hilton commercials. Don't play games. So that night of Halloween, where I was dressed as Paris Hilton,
Mhm.
myself and my friend Amina, who I've told you about, were walking. I can't remember which street. We're walking to New York toward our favorite bar, Carnival.
Mhm.
And we're walking, and like I said, I have on this tiny skirt. You know, I've shaved my legs. You know, I'm looking real. My titties
Fishy.
are out. Fishy. And this car of 4 guys pulled up, and they were like, "Hey, mama. Hey, hey." And I went, "What up?"
Ah!
And they sped off so fast.
Oh my God.
They sped off so fast. It was fucking hilarious.
I
It
love
was hilarious. Okay, I'm sure you have more questions. You know me, I'll babble all day.
No, I love that because I love Finster. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like a gamer. Like, so he's on Twitch and all the things, and he dresses as a woman. He's a cross dresser. He's not, I don't think he's gay. I don't think he's a drag queen, but he dresses like a very fishy woman. And so he'll do
Yeah.
that where he'll be just, yes, yes, yes. And then somebody will try him or say some bullshit because, that's what gamers do. And he'll come off
Yeah.
with the, hey, what'd you say?
Ah!
That speaks to me because I love him for that. But no, I do. I'd love for you to maybe even just continue telling us a little bit more about yourself. I mean, I know you're married. So I mean, how would you
Beautiful.
describe your marriage and your roles within it? Because I know that's
Interesting.
new for people.
We've been together, according to my husband, 12 years in November. But
Aw.
I swear it's 13 because I swear he told me 12 last year. But our relationship is very, very interesting.
Mhm.
If you want to make it about gender roles, we very much flip-flop. What's funny is I'm the more feminine one, but everybody in my house calls me daddy. And he's mommy. If you call my phone, it says Big Daddy.
Oh,
So there's an interesting dynamic in our relationship.
my producer said mine too.
In the beginning, I was more dominant. I pretty much controlled our schedule, pretty much controlled our comings and goings and what we were doing. I was also working in full time to even begin to describe how much I was working. Now that we're in Florida, it's different because I have to work around his schedule because of his mother. So now he's the more dominant one when it comes to our day and what we're doing. Yeah, what he's doing, because whatever he's doing for his mother is more important than me going to Publix. So there's an interesting dynamic there. There's also, we power play a lot, which a lot of people don't understand, but it's kind of both of our mental health shit that we like. Typically, if he's angry with me, he's not really angry with me. And same goes for him. If I'm angry with him, I'm typically not really angry at him. But we definitely use that to our advantage personally. But, I was talking to my mom about this, and she was like, I just worry. And I was like, no, it works. It works. Sometimes you need someone to yell at. My favorite song lyric by Adele is, you get the brunt of it all because you're all I have left. And it's very much like that for us.
Enjoying everything so far? Give us a like. Let me know. Thanks.
I'm very fortunate to know a lot of gay couples, gay male couples and female couples. But the one thing I've noticed throughout all of my friendships with these gay men, they're almost all like open relationships.
It's very common in the gay culture. And I've always kind of had this thought: is it because we're both men and we accept our carnal desires more than straight couples? Is it more of a I can trust you with this kind of thing?
Oh, interesting.
For us, it's you have permission to play.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that we do, but you have permission. If a situation arises, then who am I to stop you? You're an adult, I'm an adult. With women, I find it different. A lot of lesbians that I know will absolutely refuse an open relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I wonder if that's because it's two women.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, let's be stereotypical, women don't mix well. So I wonder, it's almost like gay men are like peacocks, right? No matter how you dress, whatever your style is, we're like little peacocks. Look at me. I've been ignored my entire life. Look at me. Look at me right now. Look at the bulge in my pants. I want you to see it. You know, and I think that that innate nature to be seen and to be loved often leads to things like open relationships. I love my husband very, very, very much. I think that goes without saying. Does he fill all of my emotional needs? No. And that's why I have a myriad of girlfriends who I can talk to. The same goes for him. He has friends that provide him things that I don't. And I think that's okay. You know, I think straight or gay couples both acknowledge that that's okay. I think as gay men, we take it one step further. I know a throuple that is thriving so well.
Mm-hmm.
They have separate time, they have together time, and I'm not just talking about sexually. I mean, you know, they have date nights and they take separate trips and they sometimes travel together. And I find their relationship so fascinating because it's seriously like it just works.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes sense for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what open relationships are about. It is, does this make sense for us?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like polyamory.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the Mormon church. I have 7 wives. You know, it's like the Indian culture. You're the first wife. There's so many African cultures that cultivate, you know, having multiple partners. It's always male based, which goes back to what I was saying. It's why I wonder if it's because 2 men, we have the desire to have multiple partners.
I mean, I find that interesting because, and I'm going to assume that the throuple you're talking about is all men.
Yes.
Whereas,
yes.
like, I know of a few throuples, but the one that I'm most familiar with was 2 women and 1 man, and they folded. Very recently, they folded, and I'm still waiting to kind of hear what the story was, but I cannot imagine it's not some gender reasons.
If you've ever watched the show Sister Wives, okay, so it's don't refuse. It is a lot of drama. I will give it that. But the way the relationships work and have changed over the seasons has been absolutely fascinating. Because they start out as this like happy little family, and then we add Robin, the youngest one, in, and then everything goes to shit.
I don't think it's because of Robin. Like, the only thing I've seen of Sister Wives was this final. I guess there was a final death knell for one of the wives who had kind of been there from the start, and it was about, I'm going to say Corey. Is that his name?
Cody.
But and literally, I just saw this on Instagram. So this is my only real knowledge of Sister Wives, is Cody coming in and one of his OG wives trying to tell him, hey, we have to talk about this. We have to have a discussion. And he just is like, well, you're not listening to me. You never listen to me. And just full on vomiting narcissism on her in the most petty, childish, destructive way.
And the most interesting is Cody changed. He wasn't always like that. he
But
was
to me,
always
like,
a little misogynistic.
but
I'll say
knowing
that.
narcissists, especially Christian narcissists, because Mormons are Christians, okay? That is very much something that I don't think he became. I think it became uncovered, but
Yes,
he was
I'll give it.
always
Yeah.
that. And that's where I saw a 1 minute Instagram and told me everything I needed to know about
Mm-hmm.
not only sister wives, but that whole concept of a man being capable of having multiple
I
wives.
was I was gonna bring that up. It's not always. I have seen situations where it's a woman with multiple husbands, but I would say what 99.99% of the
Right.
time it's always a man
Mhm.
with multiple wives. And it's always about procreation.
Right.
Like I'm watching this one show, well, I just finished it on Netflix, and the first wife was older, the husband was older, and his second wife turned out to be a lesbian. That's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
But then he wanted to marry a new wife because he wanted more children.
Mm.
And he knew his other two wives wouldn't provide that. You find out later that the first wife sabotaged the second wife's pregnancy and made her miscarry. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
Oh,
But my
wow.
point
Okay.
is, and this is an African show. I want to say it's from Nigeria, but don't quote me on that.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing about the husband was surfacely, you wouldn't think anything. Like the first wife controlled everything, everybody's looks,
Mhm.
how everybody behaved, everything.
Mhm.
And so it's an interesting back to power play that
Mhm.
everyone thought he was in charge, but really she was the one keeping his illegal businesses all covered up,
Oh, wow.
and making sure that the family looked perfect all the time, that they were presenting this perfect image, they ran a beauty brand. And to that,
Yeah.
um, it was just an interesting power play because he doesn't stand up to her until like this. I don't know how many seasons there were. It was late in the
Mhm.
show where he actually was like, "Get out of my house."
Damn. I mean, so what we're, I guess, kind of talking about in all of these instances is just that when it comes to polyamory, open relationships, more people than just the two of you being involved. That
Hmm.
I think honestly, it sounds like you kind of have to look at the genders involved in it, and it seems like with men, I love what you said that it's about fulfilling needs that can't be met in the relationship as
Hmm.
opposed to, I'm trying to procreate or I'm trying to sow
Right.
my royal seed or whatever. So I can appreciate that as a person who is extremely monogamous. Like I actually feel like I understand that need for an open relationship more. So thank you for that clarity. Um,
It's like my husband and I have a lot of the same passions.
mhm.
Okay, we have a lot of the same likes. We often dress like
And it's so
um
cute.
and I'm like the first wife I was just telling you about. I make sure that the house is run correctly.
Mhm.
I make sure that we look good. I make sure we eat well, and that's kind of my role. And that goes back to what I was talking about with power play. He don't do no dishes. Love
Mhm.
him to death, but he don't do no dishes, maybe. So it's an interesting dynamic. Um, when you talk about bringing a third person in, remember we were talking about that guy that I was speaking of before,
Mhm.
and it's like my husband was like totally cool with that, or
Mhm.
maybe surfacely cool with it. And
Yeah.
it wasn't even like that. It wasn't supposed to be romantic. It was completely like friendship, platonic, maybe.
Mhm.
But the sheer fact that my husband was like, okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
it just makes you think, like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like that because one of the ways that I classify cheating is by an emotional cheating. So if
ah,
it has an
same here.
emotional relationship with someone else, then
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or a super close girlfriend. Like I'm I'm not doing it. So like,
Listen,
yeah.
fuck whoever you want to. Okay? Lay in bed with whoever you want to. I've always told my husband it's two things. Do not get emotionally connected and don't start spending money on somebody else.
Right. Right.
I want you at sexwithsophie.com so we can continue these conversations. Come on. Sexwithsophie.com. All right, back to the video.
I do want to switch gears a little bit because we are running out of time a bit.
Okay, please.
A really, I think, important conversation that needs to be had is around the fact that you are HIV positive.
Yes, I am.
And I just love that you own it. You're comfortable in the fact that it is what it is. And
it is what it is.
I mean, I can appreciate that we're in a different world today, but can you explain, like, what that's like for you? What happened? How's it going?
I found out by accident.
Mm.
A friend of mine was working for RAIN in North Carolina, which is a AIDS organization that provides services, for patients. And, she had a quota to fill, and she was like, I've got to test like so many people today. Like, will you just come get tested? And I was like, yeah, whatever, not thinking that I had HIV. I also happened to be a little drunk at the time because she called me after my like late night drinking session and I hadn't been back to sleep yet. I'm a little intoxicated. And she picks me up, we go to the office, she tests me, and she looks at it, and she looks at me, and she looks at it, and she looks at me, and she goes, "You're positive."
Oh no.
Because of the intoxication, I bawled like a baby.
Oh, I mean, without that, I can't imagine. That's not the most shocking.
It's not the most comforting thing to hear. And I cried, and I called my mom and my stepmom, and Patrice was like, "I'll give you a minute." And I said, "Okay." And she came back and she was like, "Okay, well, let's get you signed up for services." So I got on a mediocrely great program called Ryan White, which is dedicated to a person named Ryan Wright who experienced HIV and died, of course. I started treatment almost like a week later. I'm on this great drug called Biktarvy. I am completely undetectable.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but because of other medical issues I have, I really have to watch that. I only weigh 130 pounds. And my weight fluctuates between 123 to 130. And if I go below like 125, my doctor gets really concerned because that means I'm not producing enough fat to keep my immune system running. So there have been times where my levels have risen and I wasn't undetectable. The good thing is I have my blood drawn like every 6 months, so I'm acutely aware of my health, except for that whole hospital thing. We'll leave that for another day. But it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. I've lost a lot of muscle mass. I'm used to being very lean. And although I'm still slender, I'm lacking the muscle mass that I'm used to having. And that's legit the HIV. I throw up a lot in the morning because my pills just affect my stomach, and there's the chronic worry that I could have a seizure at any moment, that I could, just get really sick all of a sudden. And with everything else going on in my life, those are not things I should be thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably the hardest part about having HIV and a great tendency to drink alcohol. I think the hardest part about those two things is just not knowing when enough is enough for your body.
Mm.
And I don't mean like the amount you drink or how many pills you take or what your blood count is. I mean, literally, like the hospital thing I referred to, my body just gave out.
Mm.
You know, I was completely septic. I died twice.
You told me, yeah, that's and that whole thing was quite recent.
That
This
was
was
in
last week.
earlier this year, like
Yeah.
March, April.
So it's to know that it's not like, oh, this distant thing, you know,
No, to know that
you're worried.
as that, you know, my doctor thinks I'm fine. My other doctor thinks I'm fine. My other doctor, three freaking doctors. I'm about to gain a therapist too. They all think I'm fine, but then sometimes I'm not fine.
Yeah.
And I never know if it's my immune system being funky. Like I got sick recently.
Mhm.
When I get sick, it's not like lay in bed sick.
Mhm.
Like the whole hospital thing was I had walking pneumonia and I went septic.
Mhm.
So I don't really acknowledge sickness. It was not a thing growing up. Like if you were sick, you went to school. Like so I don't really acknowledge sickness like that. So often when I do get sick, I won't realize it till 4 or 5 days in.
Mhm. When it's gotten a
And
little too far.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
often wonder how that affects my HIV. You
Mhm.
know, well, thank God it's functioning. My immune system is functioning.
Right, right,
But,
right.
you know, what if that one day my T cell count is low and I'm on the floor?
Okay.
You
That's
know,
real. That's very real.
yeah, they're very valid thoughts. You know,
Mhm.
my husband won't tell me about going to the hospital. He won't tell me anything about it because I can only imagine how he found me.
Oh.
Yeah, sad moment. It's over now. Yay.
But
Next
again, you know,
question.
depression, it's top of mind, and I get that, and again, we talk all the time, and I
Yeah,
certainly understand that that is a thing that happened, and now you've managed it. You're on a better track. But again, just as your friend, just as somebody who loves you, like it's still in the back of my mind, so I can't imagine it's not still
right,
a thing you think about. And so
right.
that in itself is, I guess, just a consequence of being HIV positive, a consequence of having the experiences that you did with the hospitalization and whatnot, that
Mm-hmm.
I I just wouldn't have known exist for people in your situation. So yet again, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing
Yeah,
not
I
only
mean,
that you're dealing with this, but
you
what
know,
those ramifications are.
literally, if you run your body down the way I did, even though I didn't do it consciously, but the way I did, your T cells just drop.
Mhm.
And now your body's not protecting itself. So
Mhm.
the whiff of a cold, the whiff of something will make you sick. And like I said, I'm not one that recognizes sickness. So, you know, it's a hard thing to deal with
Yeah.
because every cough, every sneeze, every time my stomach's upset, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about being in the hospital again.
Oh.
Fucking embarrassing as that.
Oh my god. I really do wanna know, like, what, resources, in addition to RAIN, or if you wanna talk more about RAIN, that you found helpful, or are there support networks out there for people who are HIV positive, or what would you recommend?
There are things like support groups. And like I said earlier, I'm part of the Ryan White program. A lot of my mental health is funded by Florida, by the Florida Health Department. They are shit. Um,
Oh.
Ryan White is good, but you never receive the full services that you're supposed to. And
Mm.
I've been dealing with him I was in North Carolina when it started. You're supposed to get this kind of care or that kind of care, and you literally watch your caseworker put it in the fax machine, and no one ever follows up with you.
Mm.
Things I would do, be honest about it. You know, you don't have to tell every person you encounter, but tell your boss, you know, tell your loved ones, tell your circle, you know, and be honest about it. Because, like I did one day at work and it just fell out, if they didn't know that, then they wouldn't have known not to touch my blood. It's things like that that you have to be considerate about. Someone who could rescue you in an emergency situation, you have to be conscious and honest about your health condition. You know, my boss knows every piece of my medical, and he doesn't share it, but it's because I want him to know that if on Monday I'm like this and on Thursday I'm like this, I'm literally having a drop in serotonin.
Mm. And
You
what's so
know,
crazy is we're talking about RAIN, which again they have one I think in every state just about.
I think
Um,
so.
but the acronym for it is recognition, acceptance, investigation, and non-identification, which are
Mm-hmm.
the steps that aid in the processing of deconditioning the typical response to these situations. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's amazing. So
Yeah,
if
I
you're,
just think,
yeah.
and like you said, the perception of it is changing.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, it's not such a big deal anymore. There's medications, there's outreach programs. If you want to go to therapy about this, group therapy, you can. You know, it
Mhm.
all exists now as opposed to when this all started in the 80s, you know.
Oh my God. And that was a whole different world, which was, by the way, fully perpetuated by the government. Like they could have absolutely nipped this in the bud, but because it was only affecting gay men primarily, it was swept under the rug. There are now newly released like audio files where you can hear the president and other officials genuinely being like, "So the fuck what? Let them die." Like it's horrifying how
It
age
is.
when it first was coming on the scene. And so, like, the lives lost, the people, the human beings, the brothers, the fathers, the
Mm-hmm.
husbands, the boyfriends that were lost,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me fucking sick, to be honest with you. So,
It
like,
does.
the
It
world
does.
and today, thank goodness, at least, at least you're able to be like, hey, I'm on a medication that's making me undetectable. Like you're following a program and a
And it's,
system.
and I tell
Yeah.
you, every time you get lab work done, it's the most paranoid thing ever. Because
Oh.
you're like, okay, like, am I okay? Is my blood sugar right? Did I fast
Mm,
long enough? Did I? And you don't get the results for like 2 weeks. In the back of your mind, you're going, is my status still the same?
mm.
Am I still undetectable? Is my blood sugar right? Is my folic? I have to worry about stupid shit like folic acid. I have
Oh
to
my
take
god.
fucking folic acid every day. I don't even know what the fuck folic acid is. Okay, I don't even know what the fuck it
I
does to
should
your
know.
body.
I should
But
fucking know.
but my doctor's like, you're low on folic acid. It's one of the reasons you had a seizure. I'm like, okay, all right, you know,
Oh my
like I take, I have to take vitamin D. I live in Florida.
god.
How am I not getting enough
Enough
vitamin D?
sunlight, right?
And the sunlight all fucking day long, and it's
Oh
changed my skin tone. What do you mean I need vitamin D?
oh my god. Well, okay, well,
But
I
my body
feel like
just doesn't produce those things. Anyway,
no,
anyway.
and I feel like those are some great steps toward finding those resources, finding those networks for people um, who are new to their diagnosis or even maybe want to have some additional support. What resources and supports are out there for people who are interested in the drag queen world? Like, what I know you had some amazing tips earlier, but like, if I'm just, hey, I want to do this, I'm interested. Like, how do you
Um,
even begin? Like, what in the world?
Traditionally, back in the day,
Mhm.
you would get a drag mother,
Mm,
and they usually choose you. You don't choose them,
mhm,
you know, or you can ask, but they pick you. They would treat you and train you. And then once you're performing and, going on shows outside of your city, you just meet a network of people. You just meet a network of other queens, of other entertainers, and that's kind of how you build your circle.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like drag queen support group,
Why not?
I don't know. I don't think we need one. I
Really?
think we all, yeah. The sisterhood of drag is very real.
Oh, good.
I mean, it leads to some serious drama.
Mm-hmm.
People have fought people over pageants.
Good snap.
Why?
I've seen season 9 of Drag Race. That where
See?
was it 9? Yeah, the one where the pageant queens were. That was amazing, and we don't have to say those words again. I just
It's very. I mean, listen. It's very cutthroat, and it's very like you find your circle. If you look through my Facebook at the drag queens on my Facebook page, they all tag each other. Like we're this little North Carolina and other states circle of families, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Texas, New York. We're all these queens from all these places, but we're like a little circle, even though we mostly Facebook. But when someone's competing, it's the same people. Yes, girl, get it, girl. Yes, work it, girl. Get them. It's that you can see it's the same consistent people who are celebrating these people. So it's interesting. You just find your network.
I cannot believe you made it this far in. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video if you're enjoying everything so far, and go to sexwithsophie.com if you want to ask me a question yourself. Thanks. Back to the video.
As a community member, as an ally, or even as just a person who's interested in going to a drag performance, or a drag brunch or something cool that they heard about, like, how do you find out about those things? And also, how would I best support the queens in my area?
Most of them are published on Facebook. But the problem with that is you kind of have to know a queen to get the invites because they mostly do self-promotion. It's not like back in the day when we had Q notes in Charlotte.
LGBTQ paper,
Exactly.
newspaper,
yeah, where we had ads and people knew. It's not back in the day when Scorpio shows were Wednesday, Sunday.
Right.
We're in a different time.
That was my first experience of the drag world, which was amazing. Ooh, girl.
You have to know show nights. You have to know what bars are open on what nights. You have to know who's doing brunch this week. It's a lot through social media. We don't necessarily hand out flyers anymore. And behavior at a drag show. Step 1, bring your dollars.
Yes.
Okay, it is an expectation that you tip me for wearing these heels and a girdle.
Generously.
Be throwing money all over my body like it's a Pakistani wedding.
But tell us a little bit of the etiquette of that, because there's a drag queen on Instagram who's got this like etiquette series, which just as a decent person, there are things I wouldn't do, but still, like, what?
There is drag etiquette. From the audience side, don't cross the stage while someone's performing. Be respectful of the drag queen space. Just don't try to be out there bumming and grinding on the queen. Tip respectfully. If you're a good drag watcher, when she's having a performance moment. And then when she's gonna come around and collect tips. There's knowing that. There's knowing the respect of, I'm about to do like a backflip and a split, and I can't take your dollar right now, but I'm coming. That's something that bothers me right now too. But anyway, and it's just some queens just try to tip the whole time, and I'm like, you actually have to like do something. You can't just collect money. Do something. Old school drag etiquette is new costumes every show, new hair every show. And, that's because I was performing. So, now I live to that same standard. The women I consider my aunties and drag mamas, and I have, a few, that's how they entertain. Even though one of my aunties does Tina Turner, every time she does it, yeah, she's got like 4 different dresses, but every time she does it, it's different. It's fresh, it's new. And I have a firm belief that that's a lot of drag etiquette. That's knowing your audience. That's being committed to what you're doing. It's like I was saying before. You're not just a boy in a dress. You're an actor. You're an entertainer.
Right.
And you need to act like a celebrity when you're walking around the bar. No one wants to see you plastered off your asshole in the parking lot and you can't walk to the car.
Oh,
No one
God.
wants to see that. You have a brand. That's drag etiquette. It's a brand.
As an audience member, some of the things that I thought were amazing to lift up were that, if don't touch them. Even if you're putting the tip in, don't pull the bra. You can't. Don't.
That's a personal thing.
Grab.
Like if you're my friend, yeah, put the dollar in my titty. Okay,
Yeah, but I
that's
don't
fine.
know you, and you're just
But if
like
I
you
don't
said,
know
splash
you
your
and
breasts out there, especially.
I am
Yeah.
not a stripper. I am not
Right.
a stripper.
Right.
I'm not wearing those things the strippers wear. You put the dollar bills. I'm not doing that.
Right. Right. So I thought that was a really good point that the drag queen I saw on the Instagram channel was really noting. And I mean, she was like, you grab me, I'm walking off the stage. You anything, she's out. You disrespect her in any way, she's done. And so I thought that was like an amazing showcase, of how to handle that from the drag queen side. Like,
the only thing about that is, unfortunately, it happens. You push them off and you keep moving. And you see them in the bar later and you go, if you ever touch me like that ever again in your life, I will beat the shit out of you and no one will find your body.
So save it.
Yeah.
Is another tactic.
Finish your performance for all the other people who are being respectful, and then you find that person later and let them know what the fuck is up.
Well, see, and that makes sense because then, by walking off, that's your loss. That's your loss. So
you just missed half a number of tips.
I subscribe to the get your money and then come back and handle your shit. Yeah, I like that.
You've hung in there this long. Thank you so much. It's almost to the end. So make sure you like this video before we get there. Thanks. All right, let's get back to it.
The kind of final thing I guess I'd like to touch on in the drag space of our conversation, generally, what do you see for the future? What do you think the future of drag looks like in light of a lot of the kind of political nonsense that's happening now? And also, what's the future of Carmen Banks?
Well, we'll start with Carmen. Carmen's on her journey to be back. We are trying to get back online, but as opposed to when I was doing this in my 20s and 30s, I have decided to take a more professional approach, like I said, branding, and really taking Carmen seriously. So to answer the part A of that question, being in Florida, it's a little difficult because although there still are brunches and shows in other places, I love my craft. I'm not driving 3 hours to Orlando to do 2 numbers, make a mediocre fee that barely covers the hotel. Like, I just can't do that. But I am looking forward to working with local things. There's a couple of places, like I said, they're doing drag brunches here that are fantastic. So I'm looking forward to working with that. The future of drag, I don't know. I feel like, I'll say it, RuPaul. I feel like RuPaul really introduced the world to so many different aspects of drag.
Yeah.
No one would know who Sasha Velour is if it wasn't for RuPaul. And just reference, she's this very avant-garde queen who does amazing performances, amazing costumes. No one would know how good she is if it wasn't for RuPaul. We wouldn't know who Jujubee is. We would know.
Raja, I mean, my favorite
Raja.
of all time will forever be Bob the Drag Queen.
I love
And
Bob the Drag Queen.
Love Bob. But the thing I like about Bob the Drag Queen is that he's doing stand-up now.
Yes.
He's doing podcast now.
Yes.
So it's like, and honestly, that's where, again, we've had these conversations all the time, but that's kind of what I see as a future for Carmen as well, as like being able to do the catering as Carmen, being able to be beyond the stage.
During COVID, a lot of queens did videos and had their Cash App and their Venmos on them for tips.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that fascinating. Girls were still making money doing drag in the house. And I just found the whole movement so fascinating, resourceful,
Right?
It's like, okay, this is my bread and butter, honey. We still got to make this money. We got to make these coins.
Right.
Okay, so set up the camera.
Doing what you do best. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, I found that so interesting.
Person, so I'm always going to be like, how else can we flip this? What can we do outside of what's traditionally done with this? So, we'll talk, you and me.
Yes, of course.
How I can help in any way too. But overall, I just love you to pieces. And I'm so appreciative of everything you shared with us today. I got to ask you my final question, though, that I ask all my guests before we sign off. What is the last thing that you masturbated to?
Can I remember? Oh, it was from a website called Southern Strokes. And it was told this guy that they played the whole like you're straight card. And he's all like, yeah, suck, let me touch my dick. And I'm like, yeah, country.
Oh God.
Take me to the woods.
That was good for you.
Put me on the tractor, honey. Yes.
Oh my God. Was it the accent or was it the fact that he was playing straight?
I don't know.
All of the above.
It was all of the above.
Oh my God. I love it. Well, okay. What are your final thoughts or comments? Do you have any last words from yourself or from Carmen?
Carmen says, watch out for her so you can book her in your next show.
Hey.
She'll be ready by December. Nice. Holiday shows, I have costumes for days. And Arron would like to say, this has been fantastic. This has been so wonderful. And I hope all of you out there in the land of the internet enjoy this as much as I enjoyed filming it.
You're just an amazing human being on so many levels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so are you.
Darling. Thank you. So that's our show. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. But man, thank you again. I hope that you've all learned something or learned just as much as I have. And I will leave you with what I always leave you, my directive to love one another with permission.
Not with permission.
Bye.
Bye.